Am I on now? Technology is not my friend, people. Just remember that. I'm kind of old-fashioned. So if I mess up, forgive me. I'm not from Indianapolis. I moved here 21 years ago. That's me in 1990 when I moved to Indianapolis. And I'm a passionate explorer of the city. I've always been interested in exploring things around me. And the time I moved to Indianapolis, I worked for the Historic Landmarks Foundation of Indiana, now Indiana Landmarks. They're a preservation advocacy group. And, several jobs later, I now work for a community development corporation called Southeast Neighborhood Development. There's me hard at work. But the reason I am here before you today is because I am an artist, and I'm just learning to call myself that. I make stuff out of junk. I dig through dumpsters and junk stores and antique shops, and I find interesting images. And that was sort of a little take on Indianapolis. Well, tonight we're here to talk about fashion. And many times we believe that fashion is something that we invented recently. And as Petra just pointed out, very well, I might say, we certainly did not invent fashion. It's been around for a long time. And it's expressed in a lot of different ways, not just in clothing, but in the things that we make, the things that we choose to own, the things that we value. And fashion and style is expressed on all income levels and all backgrounds. But we're also here to talk about Indianapolis and about design in the city and about fashion in the city of Indianapolis. And I think, and some of you may agree with me, that Indianapolis has had, at least from what I've observed, when I first moved to this city in 1990, we had sort of a self-image problem. In reading a lot about Indianapolis, I came across a diarist that toured the Midwest and described the citizens of Indianapolis in this way, and I quote, "Indianapolitans," I love that word, by the way, we should all use it, "Indianapolitans are a confident and practical lot, and they hold culture in high esteem." That was Indianapolis in 1900. Does that still describe us today? I'm not sure. Well, it should, because we've got an awful lot to be proud of. This city exists simply because people willed it to be so. They decided in 1821 that there ought to be the capital of the state of Indiana in the exact geographic center of the state. So they decided to put it right here. It didn't matter to them that there were no navigable waterways, that most of the land around this area was a swamp. That was completely immaterial. Pig-headed stubbornness, but confident, yes. Maybe not pragmatic. Consequently, we've got this fantastic city plan that has a very much of a grid base, but radiating out from our wonderful circle are these diagonal avenues that create a lot of different building forms in the city. Well, Indianapolis really sort of plugged along, not all that well, until about the mid-19th century when we became the hub of transportation in this country with the advent of the first Union Station here in Indianapolis in 1859. Quickly, we grew into an industrial powerhouse. By the early 20th century, we were one of the thriving cities of the Midwest, known for our manufacturing. Our wonderful city plan, because of the waterways that converge and meander through the city, required us to have lots of beautiful bridges. And the oddly shaped building lots created by the diagonal streets made for lots of triangular shaped or flatiron style buildings. We also became known for interesting design in public places. Our city was designed by General Alexander Ralston, who was a student of a planner named L'Enfant, who was the designer of Washington, D.C., and believed that parades and civic ceremonies were incredibly important. So we've got some really fantastic public spaces, and I think we ought to be very proud of those public spaces. We were also known for a lot of other things. Invention, innovation, known for being very fast. Indianapolis was a major automobile manufacturer and not known for producing large quantities of cheap cars. We were the producer of the luxury and the fast cars. So be proud of that, people. We also became known, ironically, as a major center of public transportation. Here's the intersection. Yes, fantastic. This is the intersection of 38th and College, and you'll notice that not only is there an automobile, but there's a lovely streetcar, and people are walking and enjoying an outdoor cafe, and there's a motorcycle there. Wow. Not only did we have streetcars, but we had the interurban railroad lines that converged in the city and allowed us to be connected to the smaller communities within the whole region surrounding us. You could get on a streetcar in a corner in Indianapolis and end up in Chicago about an hour and a half later. Very wonderful. And with, nicely treated on your way. Well, we got rid of the streetcars. This is the last streetcar going up to Broad Ripple on College Avenue. They called it a streetcar named Expire. Oh, they had a sense of humor. Other people in Indianapolis have a sense of humor as well. Another thing we're known for is writers. The city of Indianapolis and Indiana in general had more novelists in the early 20th and through the mid-20th century than any other place around. I saw a cartoon in the New Yorker from the 1920s one time. It showed a grandmother on a farm. She was feeding the chickens and typing at the same time. And the caption was, "Is everyone in Indiana writing a book?" Well, it's true. Our public library system and our public schools were the model and envy of the nation. We were certainly culturally minded. The Herron School of Art and the Herron Art Institute was an essential thing that some of the early philanthropists in the city brought to us. They felt because this was a city created out of nothing, they were always striving to make it better. Culture was an important thing to them. Music and reading, all very important in Indianapolis. And of course, since many of the people that founded this city were German, beer was also important to us as well. So in that sense, we're still there. I don't know how we do with public transportation and public education and music and all that, but beer, yes. So, with the Germans, our city was known for physical fitness. There's a good hero. We should be justly proud of Major Taylor. Bicycles were an absolute mania in Indianapolis in the late 19th and early 20th century. You couldn't find more bicycles anywhere else, all over the place. Also, the German influence in our architecture was very apparent. They loved to celebrate the corners on the small buildings and even the large buildings. They always gave some sort of an interesting topper or a hat. I think Petra would like that. Sometimes when we restore buildings, we restore them, but I wish that they would put that hat back on that one. And please, people, when we plant trees, let's think of our architecture as a resource, something to be visible. Don't cover it up with a tree. Look at that. I love that building, but you can't see it. Oh, well, sorry about that. I digressed again. I promised I wouldn't do that. But they love towers. They love celebrating the corners. This is a marvelous example of the Schrader building, again with the corner, the little pavilions at the top. This was one of the major grocery providers. Indianapolis, of course, was a mecca for produce, and we fed the nation here, well, at least the Midwest. We used to pack groceries and can things and ship food all over this region. People gardened like crazy, and they canned. I love this. Can all you can. That's a window from LSR's department store. Well, our unusual shaped city grid required unusually shaped buildings, and like fashion, architecture sometimes changes. This is the lovely English Hotel and Opera House on the circle. Modified in the actually demolished in the 1940s and replaced with this item. Quite a bit different. Well, they found that to be repellent by the 1980s. It was covered with a skin of blue glass, became known as the blue whale, and then recently in the early 90s it was had another facelift, and I think it looks much nicer now. Here's the Circle Theater, the first theater designed and constructed specifically for the showing of motion pictures. Now, it's very classy, lovely classical revival building with a nice mural on the front, but whoa, what is the deal with that clock up there? Wow, that's whimsy. That's a sense of humor in Indianapolis. I appreciate that. Well, it was a popular place and still going on. Still popular today. I'm really happy that they restored that wonderful cement mural up there. I don't know if anyone will ever put that clock back up, but I can dream. I love signs like that. I especially love this building. The last intact theater interior in the city. Remember that, people. Don't mess with it. Of course, I love the Circle Tower. Back in the day, people used to design buildings and they would, you know, incorporate public art into part of the architecture, which I thought was a great idea. Okay, here's one of my favorites. It was replaced with that. You can see the Marion County Courthouse in its death throes. Okay, we won't look at that anymore. We did great public spaces even in our smaller neighborhoods, and I see I'm running out, but I'm going to go to the very end, so I don't care if you give me the hook. Because we do have great public spaces even in our small areas, and it's wonderful to see revival in all parts of the city. One of the things that I really miss is we used to have some great painted wall signs all over our buildings, all over the place. Some people think that's tacky, but I think it's fun. That's Harry Houdini pointing at Pluto. This is one of my favorite painted wall signs on the back of the Vogue Theater. And I cried bitter tears, people, when they put up that stupid power utility pole blocking that sign. Why didn't somebody just move it over just a little bit? You know, please, have some sense. I think all kinds of signs are fantastic. This sign is a cultural icon and ought to be protected. I'd love it if somebody would raise some money and help them get the BQ fixed on that thing. Well, these are folks in Indianapolis in the 1890s having fun with fashion. How can we emulate the style of Indianapolis? How does Indianapolis have its own style? Number one, and this is an exhortation, this is my zinger of an ending, people. I want you to go out there and do some sightseeing. Get out there and get to know your city. If you've not been inside some of these old, wonderful buildings and even the new wonderful buildings, just get out there and do it. Be like Petra, right on the cultural trail. There's no excuses, people. I want you to embrace your Hoosierness. You can't get rid of it. You might as well say it's awesome. Go with it. You can start by going to the state fair. Be an individual. This was the Pathfinder Motor Car Company, and they got this guy. He was an actual pioneer that went on the Oregon Trail, and they, in 1916, outfitted a touring car with him like a Conestoga wagon and sent him out across the country to advertise their motor cars. Wonderful. Find your favorite spot in the city and take your picture there. Post it on your Facebook. People, nobody knows how to do anything anymore. This used to be a city filled with tinkerers. People were inventing and building things all the time. They taught people how to take automobiles apart in high school and put them back together again. I know there's a few people out there that still change their own oil, but when's the last time you tried it, huh? I can't do it. Drive fast on occasion, people. It's your civic duty. And please, ride a bicycle. Gosh. Celebrate the writers and the libraries and read a book, for God's sake. I'm not talking about a Kindle, an actual book. Please, please, patronize a record store while we still have them. A few of the best are in this town. Luna Records especially, celebrated by the New York Times. Yes, they love us. Drink some beer, people. It's also your civic duty. And get a little exercise, why don't you, huh? These are people in the beer garden of the Athenaeum. This was back when it used to be a school for physical education. Yes, we had the first college to teach physical education teachers in the country right here in Indianapolis. I can't do that. Maybe after I've had a beer. Learn to play a musical instrument. Come on, it's not that hard. You probably did it when you were in elementary school. They don't teach it in school anymore. It's your duty. Play something. Oh, good. I'm glad to hear that. My faith in humanity is restored. Patronize a farmer's market. You don't have to can. I know that's really hard, but at least go out and eat some fresh food. And visit one of the fine ethnic restaurants in this town. Oh my gosh, there's so many of them. And I love the fact that Indianapolis is changing, and this is one of the things that we are now becoming known for. This is one of my favorites, King Wok Vietnamese restaurant over on Lafayette Road. Well, thanks a lot. I know I went a little over time, but I appreciate your humoring me. Remember, the past was awesome. The future might be awesome, but what we've got is today. If we can make today better, then the future will be better. Thank you.